Alrighty then, let's hope the audio doesn't stuff up this time around, Skeeter, because I'm not bloody coming back to do this. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings with you for the Shelter SportCast, live from BackChat Studios. How are you, Skeeter?
G'day, Scully. Good to be with you. In fact, I haven't seen you since you won an award at the Footy Media Awards.
Yes.
I know we take the piss out of each other, but congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Skeet.
You've grown this beautifully. You're doing a great job, and may it continue. Nice to see that you got recognised.
Thank you very much, mate. Hopefully when I'm your age, I'm getting recognised for BackChat. No, I'm sure I'll be getting recognised for BackChat or not. It's already like that. So footy, right? I feel like I did some good things on the footy field. Had people watching me. Not if I ever go out for a drink or anywhere, it's never well done in your career with West Coast. It's like good to see you with Skeeter on the Shelter Sportcast.
Yeah, don't worry, shutting down Jordan DeGoey when it counted in the 18 grand final. It's about the crap we talk on a twice weekly basis.
Absolutely, that's the Southern River Band. Went and watched them live in a garage gig. Actually, we might have to do that here. I think with this Shelter Sportcast into Southern River Band, maybe a Mark Redding's guest special or something like that. Maybe not a DJ Genga getting naked, but we'll see what we can work. We do this every Monday and Thursday or somewhere around there, Monday, Fridays as well. West Australian theme. You can follow us on socials, Shelter FootyCast. You can send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Shelter, born and brewed in Busselton. Let's get into it, Skeeter. The AFL fixtures were released. Again, at weird times. I don't know what they've put the first little teaser out.
15 weeks they've got, 15 rounds.
They've put the little teaser out during one of the Socceroos World Cup games at 6:30 in the morning, right? And now they're releasing all of them at 6:30 in the morning as if that's all. They've done that forever. They've never done that in their lives.
No.
Anyway, they're out.
They're out. No real surprise, I guess, from it. Well, there's a couple of dud time slots for the Dockers. I think they're playing at 3:10 on a Friday against whoever at Norwood Oval.
Yeah, that's the gather round.
Gold Coast Suns,
That's
I think
the
it is.
gather round.
But I think Freo will be relatively happy. I mean, you look at their start to the season, they've got the Saints away, they've got North Melbourne, and then the Derby.
Yes.
Look, I look at it and think for them, they could conceivably get off to a 4-0 start.
Nah. They will start 6-0.
Well, they've got two other games off the back of that. If they get through that I definitely think they can win. I'm trying to think of the next two games.
So Freo's first was St Kilda, North Melbourne, West Coast, Adelaide, and I think Western Bulldogs might be one of them.
That's on Anzac weekend, which is the Friday night. That's a bit of a blockbuster for them.
And it could be Gold Coast. Dan's going to have a look for
First
us.
6 rounds, you're right, are very, very winnable.
My big claim for the year is they will be top of the ladder after 6 rounds, sitting 6-0. And if you do that as a footy side, one, very difficult to not make finals from 6-0. But two, they should finish top 4, top 2. If you start a season like that, not only do you have the 6-0 start, but the confidence within the group is like, well, we can beat anyone. It doesn't actually matter who you beat because you move on so quickly in footy that you could be playing last or first, and at that stage of the year, you don't know who's good and who's not. So to get 6 wins on the board, it'll be great.
Yeah, so you're right. So after that first 3 weeks, they go and they take on Adelaide. You're right. At the Adelaide Oval, they've got the Suns on April 14, the Dogs for the Anzac weekend, and then it gets pretty tough next week after that.
It looks like their first couple of tests come there against Brisbane, right?
Yeah. Having said that, they could well be 2 and 3.
Correct.
Given the way footy works.
But, see, that is the thing. So we look at the ease of the fixture, and we're going to go through that in a little bit.
Look at the ease of the fixture, Scully, based on 2022, though.
Correct. And it happens every year. It's like, well, this team did well last year, but then the same 8 never make the finals. There's always 2 that jump up, 2 that jump down. Yeah, correct. That's a very good point, Skeeter. Tell you what, you've come back very up and about from Melbourne, haven't you?
Yeah, well,
did you have a good trip, Billy Joel?
Had a great trip. The weather was fine. It was nice. To be honest with you, I was sitting sort of about where Leo Barry took that mark on the surface at the MCG. 75,000 people there. Look, he's 74 years of age. He's not at the prime of his career, but I'll tell you what, he sang for 2.5 hours. Every punter knew the songs, and it was they had a couple of guest artists turn up. Look, it was a really good night. I know it's not the cup of tea for everyone.
Is it sit down or is it stand up and dance?
No, stand up and have a bit of a dance. Yeah, absolutely. But it was people on their feet having fun. Everyone was in a good mood, and it's the first time I think I've been at the G where everyone was barracking for the same team, and that was the Billy Joel team. Good fun, really good weekend, and I think it's a weekend that you go, well, yeah, do that more often.
If anyone does find any footage of Mark Redding's dancing, please send it in, and you'll be the major focus here on Shelter FootyCast.
I'll tell you what, we were a silly chance to go and meet Billy Joel, but in all seriousness, my mate, he said, look...
You were alluding to this.
Yeah, well, 2 of his band members got COVID in Auckland. They did a show in Auckland before coming they went to Sydney because that's where Billy likes to stay, and they flew down to Melbourne. But 2 of the guys got COVID, so we're a bit disappointed we didn't get to do that, but we had great seats. The other one, as I was walking back, I had not a couple of shelters in my hand, I had a couple of dark-coloured drinks as I was getting back to the seats. This is before the concert. Just, you like to be in prime form, and there's a bit of it's really slow, and there's a bit of crowd gathering, and there's an old bloke just staggering towards his seat, and the cameras are out. It was the great Molly Meldrum. And Molly was there.
Really?
And look, I've got to say, we love him as what he's done in his career and what he means to music. But he had the hat on, obviously, it's like tracksuit pants. But since he's had the fall, he really looks like he's on his last legs. But you know what? The punters absolutely loved him. Duck was there, Wayne Carey. It was good fun. The King was there just doing his best. But yeah, had a good time. The MCG. Geez, Melbourne's a good city.
Yeah, it is. You said you weren't happy with some of the... you maybe scammed out a little bit of money by the Feed Me menus around town.
Yeah, that's maybe a story for another time, but gee, they can stitch you. I think COVID and now the kitchens around Melbourne, even in Perth they might be doing it, but gee, they whack you along the way, but that's a first world problem, Scully.
Yeah, correct. We got many of those here on this show. Don't worry about that. Let's get into a bit more sporting action. I don't know. This is a question without notice. Journalist Grant Wall dying in Qatar.
I saw it in the press box, apparently. Now, I'm guessing it was a heart attack.
It's a 48-year-old. Well, I guess the controversy has been his sibling, his brother. He was quite strong on human rights issues. He's an American journalist, quite well known, and his brother has come out saying...
Suggesting?
Yeah, not suggesting. He's saying there's more to this than just a freak accident. He feels like he's been taken out, basically.
Okay, now I'm not across the specifics here. Did he pass away sort of on the spot?
Yeah,
in the
it was
press box?
quite sudden. Press box. No health issues prior. It was. Yeah, so there's some suspect stuff happening there.
If you were just forget the Qatar human rights, you'd be thinking heart attack.
Yeah, you would.
Most, albeit at 48.
Yeah, it seems a bit of a strange one. Scott Boland, 3 for in a single over. He's not bad, is he?
He came into the Test match with an average of 9.55.
Didn't he walk away with it at 11 or something?
Yeah, he's just going to blow out. The news breaking in the last half an hour is that Josh Hazlewood is out of the Brisbane Test match against South Africa. He's got the side strain.
Right.
And you've got to think that, again, I'll ask Dr. Schofield about this, but when it comes to that sort of injury, particularly bowling, I'm not so much footy. I'm not sure whether you ever had a side strain in footy or not.
No, I don't think
it's not a regular footy injury. It's more a fast bowler's injury. Anyway, he's out of the next test and possibly Boxing Day. So we get Boland, Neeser bowled well, Stark's in the mix. Lance Morris has kept his place in the team or the squad for Brisbane. Not sure he'll play, but gee, it's a great experience for the young man.
I would like to get a new nickname than the Wild thing. That's like calling someone like the Duck, like Wayne. You can't be taking the Wild thing off Sean Tate.
Oh yeah,
Sean Tate was just an absolutely loose operator on the field. Like he had no control. He was that quick.
Yeah,
he was bowling full tosses, head highs, bounces, wides.
Yeah, 145 I think is generally about the pace that he's looking at here.
Okay, so he's not quite up to Tate.
But trust me,
155.
150 plus, yeah. So either way, it's But you know what? Here's the headline out of the West Indies series, which we won 2-0. Is that they're coming back next summer? Can you believe that?
What do you mean?
They're drawn to come back here next summer to play.
More tests?
Mate. It is talk about.
How does that happen?
I think it is.
Aren't we the number 1 or number 2?
Yeah, that's Australia, South Africa. But I think there is an obligation to play a certain number of tests during a certain cycle. Now, whether that's because COVID prevented us from going to the Windies or vice versa. So, unfortunately, we're going to be put through the West Indies. Bear in mind, we were put through the West Indies before you were probably in nappies in the early 80s, where West Indies was so strong, and we were, not bad, but we weren't up to them. And they used to come every summer, and the poor Australian batsmen, they used to just cop it in the arm and the head, like they were the full. So
you're saying it's about time to return the favour?
It is to return the favour. But you know what? We don't enjoy it.
No, we want
a contest, and we'll get there from South Africa beginning this Saturday.
All right, Mark Reddings, Will Schofield, Shelter SportCast. We're going to get into a bit more of the fixture, I think, Skeeter. So we went through Freo a little bit. I think they're going to be 6-0 off the top. On what?
They'd be anyone from Freo hear this, they're going, oh, that's right. Yeah, been playing footy.
Flagman.
Said 1 week at a time for 15 years in his career, and then suddenly he's saying, they're 6 and zip.
They will be 6-0, mate. You watch. You mark my words here on the Shutter FootyCast. West Coast fixtures are out as well, so they've got a bit of an easier draw. So how the draw actually works is they break them into ranks. And they break them up into sixes basically, and the bottom 6 from last year are meant to get the easier side of the draw. But again, that's only dictated by last year's results. So West Coast start with their first 4. St Kilda.
No. West Coast have got a first up game against North Melbourne at Marvel.
Yes.
So
that's right. They're both playing away. They've got old mate playing here, Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, and you've got the Giants and the Derby.
Yeah.
Now, this is my thinking. You're saying they're going to be 6 and zip Freo, which is probably logical. I think West Coast, you have your look at the first. Say I think they can be 2 and
North Melbourne and GWS,
2 and 1.
Yep.
I think they can get both of those.
Yep.
After that, they've got Melbourne. The next 3 here: Melbourne tough, Geelong tough, and Port Adelaide away difficult. So first 3, I think they can win their 2 out of the 3, and possibly 3. It's a derby. But the next 3 are going to be pretty tough.
What do you think about this? I said this by myself on Thursday's show, so I thought I'd say it in front of you. And I'm pretty sure I gave you a shout-out. I said Skeet would have my head for this. West Coast will beat Geelong round 5, Adelaide Oval. They get a Geelong side that loves playing at home. West Coast love playing Adelaide Oval. It is their favourite away. I just think if West Coast can get a few things right in the off-season, go in injury-free, start well, maybe win a few games at the start of the year, I think they could knock Geelong off in round 5.
Mate, not just that. I totally agree. I've got no question that the doomsayers about the Eagles, yeah, you're right. As long as they can stay healthy, the older blokes, and obviously get some continuity into their footy early, I've got them. I'm not saying they're going to do a Collingwood of this year, but I've got them rising reasonably.
I got them playing finals.
Rapidly.
Stop beating around the bush. I think they'll play finals.
I think they can sneak into that 8th, 9th, 10th position. I think that's realistic if things go well for them.
I think it'll be 6th, 7th, or 8th for West Coast.
As high as 6th.
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, look, normally I'd say, Scully, you're on
correct.
Mars. I can see a bounce-back factor just by virtue of the draw and the list if they're healthy. And hopefully a couple of these draftees, you never know.
Yeah. Again, speaking to myself, my ramblings Thursday, Jai Cully, I've heard a lot of people speak about him as a top 15 draft pick this year if he didn't go in the mid-season draft. So they've effectively added 3 top 15 guys. I actually saw, I won't say who because people like, I saw one of them on the weekend. Mm-hmm. Big unit for what's, he looked like a 22-year-old. One of the kids that they've drafted, I ran into him. I felt like he was ready to play AFL. He was a big fella. Mm. He's a midfielder. Jai Cully's the same.
And they needed midfielder. They needed mids.
Well, they've got him, and I think West Coast with those. But then you get Oscar Allen back, Jack Darling playing in behind a good forward, not just by himself. He needs another. He needs a pairing, right? He needs someone. And then you get Jeremy McGovern. Didn't play a lot of footy. So Jeremy McGovern. People we spoke to him on BackChat yesterday. One of the best defenders in the league. They don't have him for a lot. And Oscar Allen was meant to be the jump up guy from last year. Elliot Yeo in the midfield. I think they can improve significantly, and I think 6 is probably reasonable.
6 is a big call, but you know what? I'm on the same train. I think they can really. I'm just trying to have a look at their draw. I think they can set their season up as you have to do. I think, Sco, as you said, if you can be ahead of the ledger early, there's the momentum with.
There's some really crazy stats about the first 2 games.
Really,
like if you lose your first 2 games, there's a high percentage of teams that don't make finals. No. Now that might seem logical, right? Well, but you could lose them to anyone, right? And on the flip side, if you win your first 2, a high percentage of teams will make finals. So you've got to start well, and that for me isn't about the skill; it's about the mentality. If you've spent a whole pre-season, whole off-season, everyone's talking about West Coast injuries, everyone's talking about what's going to happen, are they a chance? They come out and they start 0-2. Within the group, no matter how hard you've worked, you think, well, what the fuck have we been doing? Has it been worth it?
Yeah.
Flip side, 2-0, right, we're a new team. We're on this year. So it'll be very big. North Melbourne, GWS. It's a good start for both West Australian sides.
Absolutely, and just going back to this year, you go to the game against the Gold Coast Suns, and they're a competitive side, but you get beaten by 4 or 5 goals by them as a West Coast player, and I can't even remember who they played round 2, but you go to yourself, you're right. If you can get away to a decent start, and again, there's so much unpredictability in this game but I'm on your corner. In your corner, I think that the Dockers have a real window for themselves to be top 4, given the start they can have.
Yes.
And the Eagles, I just think they might surprise. Particularly, a couple of people have said that 3 or 4 years, down the bottom 4. I cannot see that happening.
On the back of the fixturing, well, there's a ranking on hardest to easiest, right? So the hardest, as in who they're playing, Sydney Swans have got the hardest draw. So if I was doing my top 8 picks right now, I'd have them quite a way down the top 8, if not out of finals.
So from grand finalists to missing the 8.
It's just a really dangerous year for them. They're a young side, performed really well, got to the grand final, failed, and
now I get the feeling you're talking from experience.
Absolutely, yep, failed. It'll be running through. They'd want to get better, and I don't think they do. They don't need to get that much better. They just didn't play a good game on grand final day. So it'll be about the coaching staff and what they can provide them. But I don't think it helps them having the hardest draw. Western Bulldogs are the second hardest, so they may struggle. Collingwood, interestingly, has the third hardest. Geelong, Freo, Port Adelaide. That's the sort of top 5 hardest. So Freo fans, that's not the best result for you. A couple in the middle of the pack that I'm interested in that I think could really be jumpers are Richmond and Melbourne. Melbourne go out in straight sets last year, and they'll be really disappointed. And I think people sort of forgot how dominant they were the year before in that COVID season. Richmond and Melbourne are 10th and 11th hardest. They're sort of in the middle of the range, got a pretty easy draw.
The hard thing is with Richmond, and Melbourne's obviously tasted success as well, but Richmond, having had, the bulk of their group have been to the mountain a few times, but they've done the Taranto, the Hopper. The recruitment has been really good. So
good point.
They're a fascinating team because we know they're best. I mean,
Yes.
No one wanted to. Well, we saw with the Brisbane Lions, they needed a bit of luck on their side to get across the line, but no one wants to play Richmond when they're up and about. So that's the one that catches my eye is Carlton, despite that 5.
So that's the 5th easiest schedule Carlton have.
Yeah, I can't see them getting worse. I think they've got certainly some players there that can build on what they did this year. No, so I'd be buoyant if I was a Blue supporter.
Essendon, North Melbourne, West Coast, they're the 3 easiest. Now, on that list, I want you to take, and we're not going to have it in front of you, but if you can think back, 2 that'll come out of the finals and 2 will jump up. So Carlton didn't make finals last year. Port Adelaide didn't make finals last year. Who would be 2 sides that drop out of the 8? Because every year that happens, no matter what.
Yeah, well, I think the 2 that can jump in.
Yes.
So I think Port Adelaide have a.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about the 0 and 2 theory. That was 0 and 5, and we sort of debated that. And that was just a shocker. I think Adelaide got them after the final siren in a showdown. Who drops out of that? Wow, that's a tough call. You're saying Sydney.
I think Carlton come up, and I think West Coast come up. They're the 2 sides I'm picking. And who drop out?
Well, you said Sydney.
The Western Bulldogs and Sydney drop out.
Wow, it's tough. You look at those clubs there and you go, Geelong can't miss the 8, can they?
Geelong, they'll win the flag, so no.
They won't be winning the flag.
They'll win the flag. That's my flag pick.
They won't be going back to back.
Who's going to win it then?
Well, I'm just telling you, in December, 10 months, they're not winning the flag.
I can't wait for them. I can't wait to play this back to you. I just can't wait.
What?
I can't wait.
Geelong will not be going back to back.
Say it again.
How many clubs go? They can't even go back to. When's the last time they've gone back to back? Even in their halcyon years.
Okay. We'll see, Skeeter.
I'm trying to find two clubs that miss out. I mean, Brisbane are only going to get better. You think Fremantle are going to be about 8 and zip by the time they have a loss. Collingwood, you can't not have them there. Gee whiz, that is a very good question. I'm thinking, I hate to agree with you, but I can't see a Carlton or Port Adelaide not improving.
I don't think Port will make finals, just for the record.
You don't think Port?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
That can be yours, though.
Yeah, I'll take Port as one, but finding 2 to drop out, it is hard.
Yep, hard, but it'll happen. So that's the interesting thing about these fixtures is hardest, easiest. That's how it rolls. It's going to be a good year. I think West Coast and Freo should be both happy with the fixtures. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. We're going to talk cricket just after this. All right, so we had a little bit of a touch on the West Indies. Yes, they get done. Adelaide Oval. It was the day-night pink ball test. Travis Head gets player of the match. Labuschagne gets player of the series. If I said that right,
No. I'm smiling because you mentioned Travis Head, and yes. I was just thinking of. I'm not sure when you saw him. I was sitting in my Melbourne hotel room and watched, which my wife has just wrapped with. I was sitting there watching. We're staying at Crown Metropole, beautiful day. So I said, I'm just going to watch a bit of cricket. She goes, well, aren't you just a ball of fun, you old bastard?
Oh my God!
I'm watching the cricket. Well, I had a big flight across, and Travis Head gets run out by Cam Green, and I saw. Did you see him walk off?
No, I didn't.
Late over. Anyway. You know when you're dirty with a teammate, and he was dirty with.
Was he?
Well, he was
at the time. Yeah.
Had 200 just staring him in the face, and Greeny. Look, I'm not sure whose fault it was. I think they were both ball watching a bit, but anyway, Travis Head wasn't. He raised his bat. Like it was like he got out for 53. Just raised the bat, little one, and you could tell. I know he would have got to the room and thrown his bat into his coffin with a bit of angst. But yeah, Labuschagne, great series from here. Nathan Lyon. Gee whiz, I
feel like he's been playing for a long time.
He has, but
he's just taking wickets all the time.
He's going up and up the ladder of best ever bowlers in terms of wickets claimed. So outstanding. Look, the Australian team's in good shape, but again, they're playing against a side that's just not doing much. So I'll get a lot better test against South Africa.
That's got to be exciting, doesn't it? A South African Test series.
Yeah, it is. I think it is. Yeah, I think so.
They're a good side.
I just think Cricket Australia at the moment. Mike Baird's coming on board. Even we're going off subject here, but on the weekend, of course, there was claims or just before the weekend, James Erskine, the manager of Dave Warner.
How have you seen all that?
It's ugly. It's messy. I'm not a Dave Warner fan, but I feel incredibly sorry for the fact that he's the only bloke. Smith and Bancroft were banned, but he's the bloke that's really worn the can for Sandpaper Gate. And I have no doubt that the bowlers, more people knew about this than has actually been expressed publicly. And the fact that there's allegations now that Cricket Australia demanded the Australians do whatever it took in broadly speaking to get a result, which obviously James Erskine alluded to, that look, they got endorsed or pushed to push the envelope. Cricket Australia don't come out of this smelling all that rosy.
From a players played elite sport, and when things happen in teams, whether they're off field, on field. Now this is an on field incident. I would say 90% of the playing group knows what's going on. Whether or not it gets out into the media is another thing. But the players know on field stuff like this. If something happens, if there's an altercation with two players, if there's I've never seen cheating at AFL level, but I'm just trying to think of examples when things happen on the field. Players know. That's what we do. That's what players do. They're playing the game. So you come off the field and you talk about it, and vice versa. If something's happening, example sort of Port Adelaide, they do the holding never tear us apart, and we as a playing group said, let's not start the game when the never tear us apart finishes. So we would go and stand down in the far pocket at Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval and delay the game. So they'd do their big never tear us apart. They'd get ready. They'd do a big cheer, and we still wouldn't be out of the huddle. And then we'd walk out really slowly.
So the oxygen out of the whole thing was just deflated.
So I guess that's sort of like an example. And every player knew. So there's things that happen on the field that you'd be. The bowlers are touching the ball. What do you think?
Of course. And look, I just going back with Warner not challenging his leadership ban because it brings up another investigation into the ball tampering.
Fair enough. Fair enough by him.
Oh yeah, no, I support. Look, I didn't think 12 months. I thought 12 months was way over the odds given the ICC. I've said this many times, but I feel sorry for David Warner that he's been put down now as being out of contention to be a leader in Australian cricket. I think forgiveness. I think we all deserve a second opportunity, and even if he was a major part of it, considering what the ICC gave them, I think David Warner has every right to be a bit peeved.
Michael Clark was pretty strong in his comments over the weekend. I don't know if you saw them.
Yeah, saw a little bit of that.
He pretty much was saying that Cricket Australia absolutely butchering it. They can't sweep it under the rug anymore. We need to actually see what's going on, which is what I've been banging on about. There seems to be there seems to be a veil, and no public involvement in which is okay as I speak. Of course they're going to have things internally, but there's been no look. This is what's happened. This is how we dealt with it. This is why we dealt with it. This is the exact process that we followed. There hasn't been that, has it? It's just players are banned. Don't cheat. See you later.
So, I mean, the Prime Minister came into Malcolm Turnbull at the time. It was a real pile-on. It was an absolute pile-on. And Cricket Australia, if you put that into context, you put the Justin Langer, the way they handled a 6-month contract. Seriously, Nick Hockley and his crew, just sack him. Yeah. Just sack the bloke. And then Tim Payne, the sexting incident, which, was dealt with, by the way, many years before it came to light.
Yes.
And they cleared him of... when I say cleared him, he was allowed to continue. As soon as it got out, they absolutely torched him. So Cricket Australia, their reputation is very rocky at the moment. It's dismal, you're right. And, we can have a crack at the AFL and the NRL, but compared to Cricket Australia and what's happened on that basis, that there's some real work to be done on fixing the image of cricket. Because we love the game, and I think the Australian team has been burdened with some of the, not the hate, but some of the lack of love that the Cricket Australia is sort of has engendered by the stuff that they've done, and that the players are wearing a bit of the brunt of that, I think.
I agree. Well said, mate. Let's get out of cricket because I'm a little bit sick of it at the moment. Tell you what, the big round ball.
Can I say one quick cricket line?
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying you talking about it. I'm just saying that I'm the one of the guys I just think it's on the nose.
And I think we've got to be honest and acknowledge Australia's women's team for the first time this year has been beaten in a match. All formats. Haven't been beaten at all. Beaten in a super over T20 against India. They made 187, 1 for 187.
Wow.
The girls got rolled, but Beth Mooney, outstanding, 82. They're a super side. So the men and the women going really well, but I think we should just pay homage to year that the women have had.
That's amazing. Well done, girls. World Cup quarterfinals, soccer, let's get into it. Croatia defeat Brazil. That goes to penalties. It's 1-1. Both the scores are in overtime. It goes 4-2 in penalties. So Croatia... they're an incredible side. So in the 3 times Croatia progressed past the group stage, which is before they get into any sort of finals, they've reached the final each time.
Yeah.
So like they 2018 finalists, they seem to find a way to get it done.
And penalties, and we saw a bit of that over the course of the weekend, didn't we? I'm trying to think of any other sport where, I know, even in golf, if you're putting for a major tournament, it's on your back. And that's not no one else. Dom Sheed, arguably, or a big kick on the siren in a big game. You've got a team and a bevy of fans behind you.
Such a close skill.
But if you are at the penalty spot or the keeper, and you don't perfect or execute, as Harry Kane and others over the weekend didn't, that is something that you, the team, and a nation... It's an amazing pressure that I don't think you can understand.
I don't know if you've seen that documentary about the Buffalo Bills, the four
falls. I've seen it, and so Scotty, the kicker, the punter.
Yeah, and he 30 years on, he can't speak about it without crying.
Yeah, and he missed by, I reckon, a metre, less than.
So for those that aren't NFL fans, basically Buffalo were the best side for half a decade. They made 4 Super Bowls in a row.
They were like, dare I say it? They were like Geelong of that 89 to 95 era. They
lost every one of them, and a couple of them were due to this kicker. And I mean, it was just a closed skill error, mistake, but he wore that for the rest of his life. So there'll be players in this because of the penalties involved. So Brazil, Neymar's goal in the Brazilian game was one of the best I've ever seen. I saw it live. I was absolutely blowing up on the couch. Ski was a bit late.
I thought he was...
Argentina defeat Netherlands 2-2. Now, Argentina was sitting pretty, 2 goals to 0, and then Netherlands brought on.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, they were Weghorst came on, big striker came on, just whacked a couple through.
You better say something else.
Yeah, I was 2-2, and then they went to penalties again.
And I'm watching. How am I going? This is my romantic weekend in Melbourne. And I get up at 6:30, or whatever time it is, and I'm watching the penalties in bed. It was great. Argentina, Netherlands. That again was an extraordinary finish.
The interesting one with this one, it was the game, most cards in World Cup history. There was 15 yellow cards. It was a big dust up. One of the Argentinians kicked, torped the ball into the Netherlands bench. There was words between Van Gaal, who's the coach of Netherlands, and Messi before the game. And then afterwards, Messi was sledging not only the coach, he was sledging his game plan. He was teeing off at the ref. They were really unhappy with the referee, Argentina. Basically, they were 2-0 up, and they felt like he just started awarding free kicks to Netherlands to try and get them back into the game. So Messi came out and said that referee should never umpire another game in World Cup. And then when the penalties happen, there's this beautiful photo, and it's the Argentinians just absolutely
celebrating when they're running off
to the Netherlands. But I watched the vision there. 9 of the players run to the goal kicker. He's run to one side. The only bloke to run to the goalkeeper, who actually saved 3 of the penalties.
So running to the opposition goalkeeper?
No,
his own
goalkeeper, Lionel Messi. So he split off from the rest of them. Their goalkeeper had gone to the other side, and he'd sort of broken down how happy he was. Lionel Messi understood.
The significance.
Yeah, correct. Because you think about each player one-on-one with a goalie, but the goalie's there every time, right? So,
and what I love with just in brief, the penalties is the mind games that the keeper plays. You walk out to the spot and he'll sort of stand like that. Really try and get into the head of the spot kicker.
With that, with Redmayne to get us into the World Cup, there's a real art, and there's a lot of things you can do. You can get up in their face, you can give them the ball, you can delay it, you can step off your line, you can dance
with
around.
The rules, though, I'm led to believe with the rules, which Corny was here to help us out.
Yes.
A keeper, there is you're not allowed to move off your line.
Yeah, you can't come off the horizontal line before they kick.
Before they kick, but there's some movement prior to that,
and then the striker. You see some of them do jittery run-ups. Basically, you can't stop-start, but you can, as long as it's one motion. So sometimes they come in really hot and heavy, and then they stop, but then kick. Like it's got to be one motion. You can't go fast, stop, slow, fast. You can't do that.
I tell you what, I saw a couple of them butcher it when they do that sort of stuttery Josh Kennedy type run-up.
Yes.
And then you butcher it does look worse, doesn't it? At least if you have a smooth run, and like Harry Kane, put it 2 metres over the top of the net.
Well, that was the next one, mate.
Wow,
2-1 England. I don't think there's been a more English thing than they're the side that's gone out most in the quarterfinals. The 7th time they've done that, the most anyone has ever done that. 2-1. They start poorly. French score 1-0, 17th minute. It goes 1-1, penalty. Harry Kane kicks a penalty. And then Giroud, the highest scorer for the French in history, scores to put them 2-1 in front. Harry Kane, then there's another penalty, has a chance to equalise them at 2-2 and butchers it. Like absolutely pumps it over the bar. Have you seen, there's a viral video that was in an ad during the year with Johnny Wilkinson. You remember Johnny Wilkinson?
Mate, he broke Australian hearts.
Right. So it's Johnny Wilkinson, who looks quite aged in this video. I reckon some people don't know who it is, but it's Johnny Wilkinson. And he's teaching Harry Kane how to kick a penalty. And as a bit of a gag, I don't know actually who the ad's for. Harry Kane puts one in bottom corner first up, and Johnny Wilkinson comes over and goes, no. We don't do it like that, mate. This is how you do it. And he tees up the soccer ball, and he torps it over the top of the net. And he goes, that's how you do it. Harry Kane's looking at him going, what do you mean that's how you do it? And he's like, mate, that's how you win World Cups for England. Right? And so Harry Kane comes back, tees it up, torps it over the back of the net, and they shake. Look, I'll show you right here.
And so this is art is imitating life now.
That is right. So that's Johnny Wilkinson put it over the top, and he goes, there you go, Harry, that's how you do it. That's how you win at World Cups for England. Harry Kane comes back, torps it over the top. They shake hands, slap up, and have a laugh. So this was done 4 months ago.
And this happens 4 months later, essentially.
Yeah. So,
oh, no.
It's like, this has aged absolutely beautifully.
Oh, wow.
So that happens, right? So France go through. Morocco defeat Portugal.
Wow, that is a huge story. The first African nation to get to the last 4. And you know what it does? Even we cling to it a bit here, but it gives Australia a thing. Well, down the track, who knows? I'll be gone. Probably you might be still having a crack at life, but the Socceroos might do something in the next
shelters I get through
couple of decades. But that's great for Morocco. They'll get rolled, I reckon.
I don't know, Skeeter. You'll like this. I know you like a little flutter. Morocco have held their opposition scoreless in their last 5 games.
Defence does well.
The 6th game, the one before that, they had 1 scored against them, and it was an own goal. So no one has scored against them in 6 games. So basically, they park the bus.
Better say, yeah.
Hope for the best.
Bit of counter.
Take it to penalties. If they can score, then it's pretty much all over. So I would just, that's what is, I'll keep banging on about, that's what's good about soccer. People that don't like soccer, not enough happens. You only need one moment. That's why it's exciting, because you could be getting smashed the whole game. But if you can defend well and just take one moment, you can be a France. So, look, I'm not saying they're going to win, but they do. That's how they would win.
It's a romance story of the tournament, isn't it?
And then Croatia, Argentina, it's going to be a really tight game. Croatia, of course, runners-up last time around 2018. They beat Argentina in 2018. So That'll be an interesting game. So Argentina-Croatia, Wednesday, 3 a.m. West Australian time, and France-Morocco, Thursday, 3 a.m. West Australian time, leading into the World Cup
11 p.m.
Sunday, which is good.
It's good because I've got Simon Beaumont's
he's been on the podcast.
60th birthday at a humble little place called The Shoe, and we might just decide to extend the celebrations and watch 90 minutes of football.
Very good. I'm glad.
We're barrack for Argentina, given they knocked us out or not?
Yeah, I said that I wasn't. I think I am now because of Messi going to the goalkeeper. I rate that highly.
Yep.
Like I rate, and he wasn't giving it to the Netherlands. He saved that for the post-match presser. I'm going to go for Argentina. Yes.
Yeah.
You?
I don't have there's no real affiliation, but I'm a bit with you. I think given Messi's the story, if they can win, and he's been lauded in so many areas of his game, but hasn't obviously got the fascination is the Ronaldo who storms off.
See you later.
And Messi. Yeah, so I'm hoping Argentina, but I'm actually just hoping for a good final.
Very good. This is our third last show of the year. We're going to do one off the back of the semi-finals and then one to wrap up the Super Bowl, the World Cup. Talking about who's your NFL team?
Well, I don't really.
I keep asking you.
Whoever I backed. To be honest with you, I went and saw San Francisco play a couple of years, or 4 years ago. It was now because Kaepernick was quarterback and he took the knee.
I don't know how San Fran went today.
Oh, they were belting. They were firing against. They put Tampa Bay to the sword. I'm telling you.
Well,
so it's probably San Francisco out there in Santa Clara.
Well, I'll tell you right now, they got no chance of winning the Super Bowl. My team do, and they lost today. Vikings, good on you. Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. That's where you can follow us. Send us an email. FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us as a podcast. Skeet.
See you next time.